astrophysicist Stanton Friedman, and now I'm a voice in the Jackals' head.
This is Jerry Pippin, and I'm a voice inside the Jackals' head.
This is Stephen Bassett, and I am now a voice inside the Jackal's head.
I'm Nick Pope, and now I'm a voice inside the Jackal's head.
I am now a voice inside the Jackal's head.
And that was Void Pie.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Jackal's Head here on PSN Radio, SoFlo Radio, of course, the ever-growing Soup Media Network. And now with me on the line is the guest of the evening, Mr. Steve Bassett, who is the leading advocate for ending the 64-year-old government-imposed truth embargo regarding an extraterrestrial presence engaging the human race. And Mr. Bassett, also, he is a political activist, lobbyist, commentator, and executive director of the Paradigm Research Group, and, of course, the Extraterrestrial Phenomenal Political Action Committee, X-PPAC. And he is the executive producer of the annual X Conference, and my favorite guest here on the show. Welcome back, Steve Bassett, and happy 2012, my friend.
Yes, indeed. Let's all max out our credit cards this summer. Have a good time.
Yes. The end is almost here. We're in February now. We only have 10 more months to go.
Yeah, so let's leave with a huge amount of debt to the credit card companies because we love them so much.
That sounds like a good time. Now, in all seriousness, though, last time you were here, Steve, we were talking about the petition to the White House. We left off where there was, more stuff coming in January. Can we kind of get an update for the audience listening in of what's going on with the petitions and what's going on with the whole White House thing?
Right. The short summary is this. The disclosure petition was submitted in September. It needed 5,000 signatures in 30 days at the We the People website, at the White House website. It got that easily. It got 12,000. The petition called for the President of the United States to disclose to the American people the extraterrestrial presence, confirm it, and also release files from the military and agency files. So that was the purpose of that petition, was to get a response, and we got that because we met the threshold of 5,000 signatures. That response came on November the 4th. A lot of people got confused. They thought the purpose of the petition was to actually get the President to disclose, like he was going to disclose the ET presence because 12,000 people signed a petition on their website. No, the purpose was to get the response, and it came on November the 4th. That response, which is still up at We the People at whitehouse.gov, you can find it easily, and the response includes the original petition and all the signatures that were attached. That response was the first time since 1947, since this whole thing began, really, in the modern era, that the executive branch of the U.S. government had put a formal position out on this. They managed to avoid doing that all these years, intentionally, because they knew that they needed to duck this, they needed to dodge it. They didn't want to be asking questions about it. So they didn't have a position until November the 4th of last year. That position was the ultra-hard line position. It was one of their options. I didn't know if they would do it, but they did. Very brief, about 9 paragraphs. And in that petition, the second paragraph is very clear. Paraphrasing, there is no evidence, and never has been, for any life outside the planet Earth, or that any life outside the planet Earth of non-human intelligence is engaging the human race now. And there's no evidence whatsoever that the government has been withholding any information from the American people on this. This is an extraordinarily hardline position. It was a gift in a way. It's completely false and virtually indefensible. And there it is in writing on their own website. It is the formal position of the United States government executive branch. So we accomplished that goal. The next goal was then to go after that formal statement. Break it. Break that statement, break the truth embargo. And that was the purpose of the second petition. The second petition was targeting that response, that there is no evidence. And it focused on the Rockefeller Initiative, which a lot of people don't know about. But the very same Office of Science and Technology Policy that just issued in November that response, their formal position in the Obama administration, that very same OSTP back in 93, for 3 years was involved in an effort by Lawrence Rockefeller to get Clinton to release all the UFO files and essentially end the truth embargo. This is called the Rockefeller Initiative. And we have the documents confirming that they were obtained on Freedom of Information Act. We've got the websites where the documents are up, and anybody in the world can review them. We know who was involved. We know who knew about it. All of this is documented. And so that petition, the Disclosure Petition 2, the Rockefeller Initiative, was designed to go after that formal statement and bring the Rockefeller Initiative into play again in the media. Because the people involved in it included some relatively well-known individuals. You may have heard of them. President Bill Clinton, Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta, co-chairman of Obama's transition team John Podesta, New Mexico Governor Bill Richardson, Vice President Al Gore, pretty well-known people who have never had to answer any questions about that initiative or have ever spoken publicly about it. So we resubmitted the disclosure, we submitted Disclosure Petition 2 on December the 1st. Interestingly enough, and I think it's a coincidence, since the White House We the People website came apart like a North Korean watch. I mean, it just collapsed. You know, it's a big undertaking. There's 2 million accounts already. You know, and they've got millions of signatures coming in, thousands of petitions coming in. It's an intricate kind of commercial login website like you see with Amazon or your telephone company. But they don't have, I think, the high-quality IT people that Amazon does. And so they probably were tweaking it and trying to upgrade it, and it just kind of went bluey. And so essentially people couldn't sign, they couldn't log in, they couldn't create an account. It was a mess. We were getting hundreds of emails from all over the country, people for days, and trying to sign this petition, getting pretty angry about it. So what can I say? All of the petitions that were submitted in late November and December, first half of December, never had a chance of reaching the new threshold of 25,000 signatures. And so we let it die. 30 days, it expired, got pulled off the site. Now we're going to resubmit a slightly different but still very similar version of the Rockefeller Initiative Disclosure Petition 2 as soon as I can arrange for a major national radio interview to accompany the submission. In other words, we're going to put it up that morning, and my intention is to do national radio at night and get people aware of it and fired up to sign this thing. So It hasn't been resubmitted, right? However, everything about it, the petition, the media coverage, not only of Disclosure Petition 2, but Disclosure Petition 1, everything can be found at the information website, disclosurepetition.info. Disclosurepetition.info. There you can see the petitions, the media coverage, and the notice about the resubmission. And, of course, once it's submitted, the notice will go up right there, as well as everywhere else, and the direct link to the petition will be there from that point forward. We will have, once it's resubmitted, it hasn't been submitted yet, 30 days, just 30 days to get 25,000 signatures. But let me tell you, Angel, if we get the 25,000 signatures guaranteeing a White House response, it's going to be a major global news story. Mm-hmm. The first petition, the first disclosure petition, and you can see the media coverage right there at disclosurepetition.info. Some of it, not all of it. It's too much to log in. That petition and the White House response got more media coverage worldwide, many languages, than all of the other published petitions on the White House website combined. So the press is paying attention. But this one is another matter. This one, if it gets to 25K, is going to be a significant story and create serious problems for a lot of very powerful people. And it could trigger a media storm. So there's a lot at stake here. This is a big deal. A lot of people don't realize yet just how big a deal this is. Now, in the meantime, as time has gone by, more and more people have created accounts at We the People. You go there, you click on a petition, it says create an account, you hit the button, you put in your name and your first and last name, you put in your email address, and it's optional. You can put in your city and state. They send you an email with a verification link and a password. You click on the verification link, use the password, log back in, and you now have an account at We the People. You can sign all the petitions you want. It takes about 3 to 4 minutes.
Right.
So while this has been going on, while we've been sort of treading water, more and more people have signed up accounts there. And so the number of people that have accounts, the number of people that know about it has grown. Nevertheless, 25,000 signatures is still a significant barrier. We've got to get over that barrier. So that's where things are. That's what's involved. It could trigger a major media engagement, which could result in disclosure, right, which would only be the most profound event in human history. So this petition process is important. And people, let me mention something. most people still don't have a clue how powerful the Internet is. They sort of know, they're getting a sense of it, but they don't realize how powerful it is because it's only begun to exercise its influence, right? Its power in terms of collective citizen action. And we just had two great examples, Angel. Mm-hmm. About 2 weeks ago, we were approaching the votes in the House and Senate on two Internet Piracy Acts.
Correct. Yep.
One had the initials SOPA and the other PIPA, PRG.
Right.
Okay? There was a lot of objection to these acts because they would have put significant constrictions on Internet service providers. Mm-hmm. And the people didn't like it, but the big industry corporations did. Well, guess what? About a couple of days before, you know how people are. They wait until the bear is coming through the window before they, get the shotgun. You know how it is. They wait a last minute. But a couple of days, several hundred sites protested by going black, meaning they actually put the site black for 24 hours. The most notable was Wikipedia.
And Google.
Google did something different.
Yeah.
What Google did was it put a black banner over its logo.
Right.
And it directed people to a page where you could sign a petition objecting to SOPA and PIPA.
Right.
7 million people signed that petition in 24 hours.
Now that's the
within 48 hours, within 48 hours, the major sponsors of the bill had backed away. Other people that were thinking of voting for it said, I'm not going to vote for it, and the bills were tabled. All this took place in 72 hours. All right? And then we just had another example. A foundation called the Susan G. Komen Foundation, this is just a couple of days ago, made a decision under pressure to pull all of its funding from Planned Parenthood, the funding being used for breast cancer testing and so forth. Mm-hmm. Well, this upset a lot of women. And they went to the Internet, Twitter, Facebook, social media, websites, and they created a firestorm of protests within just 24 hours of the announcement. 24 hours later, the Susan G. Komen Foundation, which is a good foundation, it's known all over the world for the pink ribbons and the millions that it's raised to fight breast cancer, reversed its decision and said it will continue to fund Planned Parenthood. That is the power of the net. You're starting to see glimpses of what is possible. Now, there are, based on the polls, of the approximately 300 million adults in the United States, according to the polling, 240 million American adults believe the government's lying about the UFO ET issue.
Right.
Approximately 60 million have had sightings.
Right. And
approximately 150 million believe that there is, in fact, an extraterrestrial explanation behind this phenomenon, like the sightings, like crop circle. 150 million. We need just 25,000 of these to go and sign the Disclosure 2 petition. Now, it'd be nice to have 500,000, but just 25,000, and we're going to trigger a White House response in a major global news story. So you get the dynamics in the equation here. This is what's up, and I'm going to do all the media I can. I'll certainly be doing your show the moment this thing is submitted. But we've got to launch with a major national show because we only have the 30 days. We've got to get off to a very fast start. So I'm trying to work out that interview gig, and the moment I have it locked up and the date is set, then we will.
We're talking about national radio only, or
radio? I mean, I do national TV, but that's not going to happen. We're still in the UFO ghetto.
We are, but I'll tell you what, the UFO subject has been getting more and more coverage over the last couple of years on mainstream news. I mean, I've seen it on CNN, I've seen it all over the Internet, and all over TV, on mainstream TV. So, I mean, that would be, I think, a great platform, something on CNN or the Piers Morgan show or something like that.
I've been talking to I've talked several times with producers of Daily Show. I've talked with the producers of Larry King earlier, and also Colbert. I mean, they just won't pull the trigger. I know they're a little more skittish about the activism aspect of this. Right. UFO stuff, the sightings, yeah. But when you get to the activism, we're engaged in the government. And while a lot of these shows will definitely bring on people that are addressing issues that are engaged in the government, this one has been off limits for so long that they can't bring themselves to do it. But if I did the Daily Show and mentioned this petition, it would get 100,000 signatures. It would be huge.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get on unless I invite me on. There's no way you can coerce them. So, but short of that, just a significant national radio show is enough, I think, to get the thing launched. So, I invite people to go to disclosurepetition.info to review that petition, and then definitely go to the 2 links. The petition contains 2 links to all of the documentation and proof of the ET of the Rockefeller Initiative. It's on the web. Anybody can go see it in the world. Right? It's been up for years, and you can go and review that. And when you read this stuff and you read these documents, you'll begin to realize, my God, what would happen if some top reporter started asking some of these people who knew about this initiative and were involved in it, what was going on? What are they going to say? We got them, right? We've got them pinned. In other words, if the media steps in here, the media has got some very powerful people pinned between the White House's formal statement issued on November the 4th, that there is no evidence at all, ever, that there has been life non-human life engaging us here, or even life outside the planet. And no evidence at all that there's been anything withheld. And the Rockefeller Initiative, which took place just 15 years ago. So this is where the advocacy is at, and hopefully I'll have an announcement soon on it.
Now, moving into a little bit more of the political world, I mean, what do you think of Newt Gingrich and his claims that he would like to see a moon colony in the next 10, 15 years, that in his presidency he will try to have a moon colony? With all the problems we're facing, and this is a subject that they're not really taking too seriously. Will that be a step maybe towards some kind of disclosure? Or they focus on going back to the moon, you think?
You really can't take anything that any of these candidates are saying seriously right now. It's all silliness and nonsense. It doesn't mean a damn thing.
It is.
With the exception of Ron Paul. Ron Paul is the only candidate that's saying anything that actually means something. Whether you agree with him or not, I mean, he's actually saying meaningful stuff. The rest of them are just positioning and posturing, and it's like one of those kiddie, beauty contests. I mean, it's just ridiculous. No. One day we'll have a colony on the moon. We may already. I mean, what he should be talking about is, what is the secret space program? What's in that? Like, if I become president, I'm going to find out what the real space program is about. I'm going to find out what technology we really have. But, of course, he's not going to do that. Again, it's not a big deal. I can assure you that whatever you think is going on with respect to our exploration of space is not what's going on. Other than there are public programs. There is an exploration program underway. We do see it, but it's not the whole picture, and it's not the most advanced aspect of this. And so there's a whole hidden realm to this. We paid for it all with our tax dollars. We should know all about it, but of course it's all part of the truth embargo still.
Now, real quick though, if some people would have their way, NASA, for example, wouldn't be the only ones able to go to space here in the U.S. If they could privatize the space travel, which a lot of folks are looking into and are trying to do, that could be an easy form for us to kind of, just answer the question if there's life out there.
Again, it's all show. It's all baloney. The government
privatize space travel for private corporations.
Think about it for a second. The fact that people are going to try to go into space on a private way, like Branson and so forth, all that is just more cover. That doesn't mean that they know they're actually providing cover, but it's like SETI, it's just cover. Sure. Let's go into space, private in space. Meaning, yeah, we really care. But so these private programs are spending huge sums of money to build these light rocket planes that will take people into low orbit, and maybe eventually might build a rocket that will go into space and maybe take some tourists up there for $200,000 a pop. And of course, they're going to kill a bunch of them. It's only a matter of time.
Right.
When the U.S. government we believe pretty confidently, the U.S. government has had anti-gravitic propulsion craft operating for the last 35 years. So what the hell is some chemical rocket private space program supposed to be about? And aren't you going to feel kind of silly if you spend all your money to build something like that and suddenly disclosure comes and you discover, oh, no, they've had aggravated propulsion for 30 years. All that stuff you've been building is useless, worthless. Who the hell wants to go into space that way? You're just going to kill your clients. I mean, that's how ridiculous this is, Agent. The hidden world is so now detached from the real world that we're all running around in circles chasing our tail, thinking we're going somewhere. We're not going anywhere.
Doesn't this make even then the petition itself kind of almost, and I hate to say it, but almost a waste of your time? I mean, if they don't want to disclose it, they're not going to disclose it, regardless.
No, the whole point of the petition is to create a situation where they have to. The whole point of the advocacy movement is to outmaneuver the government and put them in a position where they have to disclose. It's the advocacy effort. It would be like saying, what's the point of marching in Selma for civil rights? Because the southern states are never going to integrate, right? Wrong.
No,
the reason you
got
got
South, much of the South is still like that there. I'm just saying.
Well, let me tell you, I don't know how old you are, but I can assure you it's a lot better than it was in 1950. So the purpose of activism is to change government policy. Now, the fact that they don't want to do it is irrelevant, right? The point is we're trying to outmaneuver them, and we are succeeding. We are making progress. We've got other countries engaging this issue. We've got exopolitical groups all around the world. We're getting more media coverage, including front-page coverage. And now we have the White House has handed us this gift. So when we talk about running around in circles and getting nowhere, I'm talking about the people that are buying into the truth embargo and saying, oh, yeah, let's give money to SETI. Let's do the SETI at Home program. I mean, think about it. Think about all these decades of money, tens of millions of dollars that have been spent looking for ET signals, when the government is known for 65 years as extraterrestrials in our airspace.
Very true.
Don't you? I mean, immediately you can see it's a fraud. It's a complete and total fraud. But somebody's paying for this fraud. But it's not just a fraud. It's propaganda. It gives people this illusion that, oh, yeah, the government cares about the extraterrestrial issue. They're looking for signals. Actually, they haven't been until recently. They refunded SETI through the Space Command, which I find kind of amusing. And the commercialization of space. It's a fraud.
In all honesty, they haven't really been looking for signals recently because they probably already know that there's life out there. We are trying to get them to disclose that fact. So why are they going to continue looking for signals at this point?
Because it is essentially it's a cover operation, Angel. In other words, if we weren't looking for signals, people would be questioning why the government has no interest in this subject. It's a big deal. So by the fact that they have that SETI program operating, it takes the pressure off them. It's like, yeah, we care. And when you go to disclosurepetition.info or We the People at the White House website and read their response, they actually refer to SETI. They're saying, yeah, there is no evidence that there's ever been any life outside this planet or we're being contacted, but we are looking, and it mentions SETI and the Kepler program and so forth. It's a cover. It's a propaganda cover. It's a complete perversion of science to serve the state's propaganda needs. And in this case, the need is to maintain the truth embargo on ET presence 20 years after the end of the Cold War. I mean, it's this kind of policy that is dropping the trust in government to unbelievably low levels. The Congress recently hit 9%. 9%. Serial killers have more popularity than that. The media is in low numbers. The presidency struggles with very low numbers. People are saying over and over again in many ways that the government doesn't work. Both parties are useless. Mm-hmm. That wasn't accomplished easily. It took a hell of a lot of lying and propaganda and BS to create that current mindset in the American people. And at the center of all of it is the truth embargo and ET presence, where the biggest lie of all time has been maintained for 6 decades when the damn things are flying over the people's heads.
That's the most amazing part of all. That they are flying over people's heads. There have been wreckages, and then they're still lying to your face. Now, once this petition comes out, I mean, where do we see ourselves a month down the road? Do you really think this is really going to bring forth what you want, the results you want?
Here is the ideal scenario. The petition garners 25,000 signatures quickly, on its way to maybe 50, 75. The press The moment the press figure out, my God, it's gotten to 25, there's going to have to be a response from the White House on this. They're going to get more focused on it. They're going to start going to the websites and reading the documents. They're going to realize, my God, there was a 3-year effort to bring out the UFO files, and Clinton could have done it. And Hillary knew about it, and Clinton knew about it. And then they're going to look at that White House response and say, wait a minute, this just doesn't add up here. And they're going to get irritated, because the press can get irritated. And they may start asking some questions of Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton and Leon Panetta and John Podesta and Al Gore and Bill Richardson. And there's a few other people I can toss in there. And these people have no answer for these questions. There is no way, other than simply refusing to answer, that they can say anything that won't generate more questions. And so we could end up with a media feeding frenzy, and it'll basically end the truth embargo right then and there. And some people say, oh, no way. These are powerful people. The press can't make them say anything. Yeah. Let me tell you a little story. There was a woman once who had a girlfriend, and she happened to drop to her girlfriend, mention to her girlfriend, that she knew a woman that was maybe having an affair with the President of the United States. And that woman, who was kind of an opportunist, said, that's interesting. But she got in touch with a reporter and told him about it. The reporter did a little checking, and within about a week, one of the greatest, biggest, hugest news stories and the biggest feeding frenzies of all time took place. And the President of the United States, upon which the last thing in the world he wanted to do was admit to that affair, who actually went into public and lied straight to the public's face and said, I've not had sex with that woman, was forced to admit, yes, I've had an affair with that woman. And so let me tell you something. When the media goes into frenzy mode, into feeding mode, there is no power on earth, short of mass executions, meaning Stalin, right? Pol Pot, whatever. I mean, if we go down that road, then you could stop them, but we don't.
The big difference is the controllers of the media really were attacking Clinton and attacking the Democratic Party, really to the point that they wanted him out of office. It's a little bit different with the UFO subject. I mean, do you really think that the media is going to embrace the subject if the population gets behind it, 100% and really pushes the subject? Do you think the media will really jump on it?
Do you want me to start listing all the Republicans who have been taken down by media frenzies in the last 20 years?
Oh, it's a long list.
It's not.
We don't have enough time.
It's not partisan. Let me tell you something. When the media gets a story, when they really get a story and decide to bite into it, it's not about politics. It's about Pulitzer Prizes. It's about big stories. It's about ratings. It's about selling newspapers and putting eyeballs in front of your television show. There is no power on earth that can stand in front of a media frenzy, at least in a democratic country in the West. It's happened over and over again. They just have not gone in that mode on this issue, but they are close. And I believe this petition process could take us there. And there's other things that could do it, believe me. Any number of things that could do it. We're simply, now I'm not saying this could have happened in 1968 or 78 or 85. No. The truth embargo was much more in place. It was much stronger. There was much more reluctance to taking any action while the Cold War was underway. But 20 years after the Cold War, it's a different ballgame. The leash that they're on is a much longer leash, and it's not very strong. And any number of things can break that leash, and then they're off and running. And this is the biggest news story in history. And so the primary goal of the advocacy movement is to unleash the media on this story once and for all. And that's the ballgame. That's it. The truth embargo is done.
Now, if the truth embargo is done this year, on 2012, if this is the year that it does happen, I mean, what's the next step for you? If they, what is Steve Bassett going to do at that point? If something does happen, that disclosure starts coming out.
A better question, Angel, is what is your audience going to do? What are you going to do? In other words,
question two, yes.
Disclosure is inevitable. I don't know what's coming down the pipe. There may be some tough issues there, but the point is that it's inevitable. And so we have a choice. We're either going to own it or we're going to passively sit and wait for it, right, to happen. In the meantime, God knows what awful things will take place. Nuclear wars, bio attacks, Who knows? There's so much bad stuff in the works right now. It could keep the let's just say it could keep the undertakers busy for quite a while.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to make a decision about that. Own it, or just sit back passively and wait for it to be handed to us someday, one day. But it's not simply up to the United States. There are many countries involved. So people have got to decide, do they have a right to know this truth? Do they need to know this truth? Can they handle this truth? Right? And then they've got to decide what they're going to do when it comes down. For me, I think most of the advocates in this movement are going to be primarily concerned, initially, post-disclosure, with holding the government's feet to the fire with respect to the information that comes out. In other words, we're going to really have to put a strong effort into ensuring that we don't get more baloney, right? Yeah, the extraterrestrials, there are extraterrestrials, but, blah, blah, blah. We got to get the truth here, because to continue to confabulate once we cross that line, it's going to be incredibly destructive. So that's going to be the principal focus. And we know a lot, and we've got a lot of information. We have a lot of resources, even as little funded as we are. So that the idea the government can just lay out some nonsense story or twist information around, more mobile balloons, right, more test dummies, more raw wind balloons, more swamp gas, we can pretty much rip it apart pretty quickly. And we have the Internet, of course, at our disposal. So unless they disclose on Monday and close the Internet down on Tuesday, we're going to be pretty much watching them every syllable that comes out of the government and written and spoken information is going to be carefully considered. Then there's going to be efforts to bring people together, bring the public together to try to express their interest, their desires in what they would like to see happen in the post-disclosure world. What do they want to see take place? How do they want to respond to this truth embargo? What do they have to say about it? Do they want another one like that? How much do they want to know about other things? How far do they want to go? Are they going to recognize that this is only the tip of the iceberg in terms of government dysfunction in the last 20 years, even going back 50 years? Are they going to seek more reform? Are they going to step up more? Are they going to vote more? Are they going to get more active? They're going to support advocacy groups. They're actually going to instead of giving billions of dollars to idiots to run for office, who then buy tens of thousands of ads we don't want to watch. Don't give them anything. Let them pay their own campaigns and go ahead and put the money, those billions, into advocacy groups that are trying to get the truth for them, trying to pursue their interests in Washington. In other words, start funding the good lobbyists instead of the criminal lobbyists. Start supporting the good PACs instead of the criminal PACs, or at least the highly self-serving, incredibly rapacious PACs, whether they're criminal or not. These are decisions the public have to make, and I think I'll be involved in trying to coalesce public sentiments along some of those lines and see if we can marshal collective action.
Now, in a post-disclosure world, let's just say that there is a disclosure by the government, Stephen, and it's not exactly what we all thought. Let's say they come up and they say something like, well, you know what, we have found microbes on the moon, or we found microbes on Mars, and there is some kind of microbial life, but we don't know anything about any real intelligent life out there. The Roswell crash was not a real crash. Would that be enough, for the folks involved in getting this, like yourself, to try to get disclosure to happen? Would that be enough for you, or would you still move forward to try to get them to talk even more, hoping that they actually know more, if that's what they come out with?
First of all, it wouldn't be enough, and that's not disclosure. Disclosure is the formal acknowledgement of an extraterrestrial non-human intelligence from somewhere. I don't really care if they're from another planet or another dimension. It's still a pretty big story either way. Engaging the human race. Anything less is not disclosure. Now, if they want to reveal that they found microbial life on Mars, that's fine. That's small d disclosure. That'll just put more pressure on the bigger question, which is why they haven't done that. Believe me, we're going to learn, when we find out what they really know about Mars and the moon, and when they knew it, a lot of people are just going to sit there and scratch their head and go, I can't believe it. Again, the whole damn space program has been a hall of mirrors. And I'm not really condemning NASA. NASA had no choice in this. There was absolutely nothing NASA could do about the way the extraterrestrial issue was handled. This was absolutely Department of Defense matter. They had total control there, and other entities, not NASA.
I believe that personally.
And so, what now?
I actually personally believe that. I think that NASA was told to, handle things a certain way, and they have to do as they're told. Basically, if they want to keep getting funded.
It's right in the Space Act that created it. The act that created NASA states unequivocal that NASA cannot possibly address the ET issue.
Right.
All right. That has to be turned over to the Department of Defense because it's national security. So, look, NASA could have discovered, an entire base on Mars with 10,000 extraterrestrials in it. It could not have said a thing about it. It couldn't have shown any photos or videos, announced it, or anything else. That would have been national security immediately, and any references to it would have been withheld from the public. And this is the way it's been since the day NASA was created in 1958. I mean, so again, we continue to diverge from reality. We're on a curve that is still taking us away from reality in a lot of things, not just the ET issue. Mm-hmm. We separated from reality on banking, on investments, derivatives, on our war policies years ago. I mean, we're just sailing off into illusion land while the reality of things continues on in another course. But we're not on that course. And this separation has caused enormous damage to America and to its people and to other people and other nations. It's a cataclysm. It's like what happens when you got a kid, and the kid has got a relatively straightforward life path that they could follow, and it would be pretty nice and productive, and all of a sudden the kid just starts diverting into crazy time. They start to go off in unreality, detaching from reality, either because they're suffering from a mental illness, schizophrenia, or because they're on drugs, or whatever. And you watch the kid diverging from a reasonable life path, and you realize that at some point there's no coming back. This kid's gone. You've lost him. Our whole country has been on a path like that for 50 years. And we got to get back to it. And I suggest that disclosure is one of the fastest ways, a shortcut, back to reality. And I think maybe reality will become kind of a popular concept in Washington, D.C. and elsewhere in the United States. Reality in our finances, in our foreign policy, in our domestic policies. Reality, not silliness, nonsense, propaganda, illusion, and fantasy. Not narcissistic self-interest, but reality, the way things are. And we start dealing with reality, you actually get results. You get change. You get change that matters. You get change you can believe in because it's actually true. So that's the way I look at it.
Look, getting back to the internet for a second, the internet, like you said, is a great friend in getting movements going for certain things like disclosure. The internet is definitely a great tool to get things to the public and create a mass movement. But of course, the internet is also a great distraction for the amount of hoaxing that's going on, for example, YouTube. In the world of ufology, what do you say to folks who say, well, Stephen, yeah, disclosure is important, but with all the hoaxes that are, that are on YouTube and on the internet, and the whole amount of hoaxing that's been going on for the last 20 years, how much of it is true? I mean, how much can we actually say, well, this is true, that is not true? We go from even the alien autopsy video, which is debunked, to just about all the big things that we've seen in the last 20 years. A lot of them have been debunked. I mean, what do you say to folks like that who say, well, yeah, I'm interested in the subject, yes, it's important, but there's so much hoaxing. How much of it really is true?
Well, first of all, the amount of hoaxing isn't as much as you think. And a lot of it has happened in the last 10 years. The Internet, and more, not just the Internet, but computer technology has made the ability to have fun and games with videos and images quite easy for anybody, even kids. Right. So there's been a lot more of that, but it's not quite as much as you think. And secondly, and this is the most important point, after 65 years, the public has gotten pretty sophisticated about this issue. And so, by and large, while there are more hoaxes, they're much more easily dismissed by people. They just go, "Oh yeah, that's a hoax. Right? That's a hoax. No big deal, right?" It's like there's been a whole lot of forgery in the art world. Thousands and thousands and thousands of paintings have been forged. Does that mean we don't have? Do people are still paying millions of dollars for collector paintings, or that we don't have museums for the original artwork of great artists? Of course not. And the third point is that look, 15 hoaxed videos on YouTube is trivial in comparison to a front-page article in the Wall Street Journal on this issue, which the disclosure petition got. A 4-column front-page article on the disclosure petition in the Wall Street Journal. That is far more powerful than a bunch of hoax videos on YouTube, and we're getting more of that kind of coverage. And the Internet, again, as people get more and more accustomed to the Internet, they're getting better and better at being able to figure out which sites have got substance and which don't, where the legitimate stuff is and where it isn't, where the funny games are and what have you. So overall, this extra noise that the Internet is creating is really minor in compared to the enormous power that the Internet provides to any issue, to the public, to come together and address any issue. And so it's an asymmetric situation. It's in our favor, and I don't see that changing. The only thing that can alter the Internet's position here is if the government dramatically comes down on it and pulls it away from us, or ties it up, or starts putting in major censorship. Beyond that, there's nothing they can do. The Internet is ultimately going to end this embargo one way or the other.
Well, they already tried the censorship with SOPA and PIPA, and apparently the people spoke, and SOPA and PIPA are obsolete. It's not going to happen.
Well, they're at their table for now. They may come back. There's actually been a number of attempts to throttle the Internet over the last 10 years. They've all been rebuffed.
Right.
The Internet is now almost a living entity. It is it's like a global brain, a noosphere, as the great Catholic philosopher Chardin described all the way back in the 50s. It's literally a living entity in a sense. So it has its own immune system. And so if some government tries to pass a bill or something that will affect it, everybody in the world will get notified, and then millions of bloggers will go after it, and the next thing you know, the government's under siege in a sense. So it's like, all these blogs and websites and social media sites, they're like T cells. They're like immune cells, and so they all can fix and come together around these efforts to throttle the net. And so far, the net has been self-protecting. Now, that's not the case in full, certainly in countries like People's Republic of China, Myanmar, North Korea, what have you. I understand that. I mean, but obviously we're not those kinds of countries. And even in China, they're slowly losing control of it.
Right. Yeah.
So unless the West decides to go totalitarian, and we start electing dictators and they take over and the military stuff. Unless that
isn't that what Obama is, Stephen? Isn't that what Obama is? A dictator? I mean,
I have my opinions, but I have no comment.
I mean, for all the detractors that he's had over the last 3 years, the one thing that's become completely clear is that everybody thinks he's a communist or a socialist, and that he wants to be a dictator, which I don't think is true. The entire presidential thing is a big sham. It really is a big scam. It really is. They're all puppets. Every single one of them. So it really doesn't matter who we elect. A lot of people talked when Obama got into power that he was going to be the disclosure president. The disclosure president. Clearly, he is not going to be the disclosure president at this point.
What I said back then was that the door was open for him to be the disclosure president. I never said he would be the disclosure president.
No, not you, but there have been others, like, for example, his name escapes me now. Jesus Christ. There's been a couple other people in ufology who've come out and said that he would be the disclosure president. David Wilcox, there we go. David Wilcox has come out several times saying this is the year of disclosure. This is the president's going to do it. This is the year, and it's never happened.
Well, the fact that the door was open for him I'm not surprised that that led some people to feel okay that he's going to do it. But remember, I had a strong feeling about what might happen in the first Obama administration. But remember, it was just 10 days before the election itself, on November the 4th, when all the skull and bones boys in Wall Street decided they'd better crash the market then and crash Lehman Brothers, because if they didn't get the bailout going before the Democrats came into office on January the 20th, they could end up in jail instead of living on Caribbean islands and, sailing new yachts. And so they virtually started stripping the economy, starting in 10 days before the election, and continue to strip the economy, bailouts and everything else, all huge money movements that were already well along the way before Obama even walked in the door. So by the time Obama walked in the door on January the 20th, the United States and even the global economy is in serious trouble, because a whole lot of absolute crooks stole hundreds of billions of dollars in their own various ways. Pay off their debts, pay off their obligations, cover their butts. I mean, it's the greatest heist in all of history. And so he walks in the middle of that, and I can make the case that one of the reasons they did it was because he could very well have been the disclosure president. This was serious, dramatic action that took place. If they had blown up the entire state of Illinois, it wouldn't have been more profound than what they did. And so he walked into a caca storm, as you need to say on radio, as opposed to in the dormitory, and it completely threw the whole game plan out the door. And so they've been tied up in this mess for 3 years. They've also made mistakes. And so I don't think that we can fairly judge what might have happened at this point. But nevertheless, Obama, I think, still is probably going to be the disclosure president, particularly if he wins the next election. But I don't see disclosure making it through. I don't see the truth embargo making it through this year. There's so much coming down. I'll be surprised. I mean, they're good at what they do, but there's so many countries now involved, so much happening around the world. Unless the U.S. has got all these other nations under their thumb, and there's no indication that that's the case. I mean, really, that's not what I'm saying. Some other nation is going to pop it, so fine. He ends up being the disclosure president for the United States. He won't be the man that triggered it. He won't be the man that initiated it. Now, I say the man. The disclosure will be an event that is orchestrated and planned by not the president, per se, but by the executive branch and military intelligence complex, those who are in the know there. They will come to a decision, and they'll make the decision to go forward. But, of course, Obama will get the credit. He is the chief executive officer. He is the commander-in-chief. So, but he may not be the first. Another nation may act first, and that leader will get the lion's share of the credit, or at least the lion's share of the historical legacy. But either way, he ends up being the president during disclosure. I still think that's the case. I would still put my money there, unless something really bad happens, and we've got some pretty bad things on the table, ready to go. We've got open discussion in the media, in the Congress, and in the Israeli Knesset that Israel is going to attack Iran in the next few months. There's also repeated statements by the administration and by the Republicans running for office that the United States, the idea of the United States attacking Iran, is certainly a possibility. It's not off the table at all. And we've just recently learned that the United States is specifically developing 30,000-pound bunker buster bombs. Specifically, they're upgrading them so that they would be effective in an attack on Iran. And so we could very well have an attack on Iran.
The presidential speech. Real quick, the presidential speech from Obama a few nights ago, when he's talking about if we have to take military force against Iran, we will take military force. That's a very scary conversation to have, considering we've just been through 2 wars and our economy is drained. We really cannot afford another war.
Whatever the wisdom of it, the point is that it's a real possibility. And if there is an attack on Iran, there's going to be potentially very dramatic consequences. And what I mean by that is take 911 and multiply it by 500.
Yes.
Now, I don't mean in terms of 500 events. I mean 500 times the impact. It's a difference between like a 4.0 earthquake and a 7.5 earthquake. So this could happen, and so if that takes place, and the fallout is as bad as I think it might be, disclosure will be tabled, and we'll continue down our path that we've been on with all of its impact and all of its implications, and disclosure will happen later. Who knows when? There's other things that can happen as well. It's not the only thing. I mean, we've got bioweapons labs underway in a number of countries. They don't know what the hell they're doing. We've got 5,000 nuclear weapons, targeted, and another 20,000 sitting behind those. So again, we're still using the worldview that was operating in the 12th century. We've got to get out of that worldview, or we're going to pretty much ruin ruin the party. We're going to crash the party for everybody, and that's why this disclosure movement is so important. We've got to get to a new worldview, a new platform, and we don't have a lot of time to get there, or we're going to end up having a very bad century. This century could end. This century is going to be either very good or very bad. It's like that nursery rhyme that was in the news recently. There was a girl that had a curl in the center of her forehead, and when she was bad, when she was good, she was very good, and when she was bad, she was horrid. This century is either going to be the break century for the human race. We're going to resolve some of the most important issues and create an extraordinary global society. When I say that global society, a functioning society in global context, and we're going to deal with some of the most important issues, or it's going to be a catastrophe. 21st century catastrophe that makes the 20th century look like a walk in a park. So it's one or the other at this point. And I think disclosure is the fork in the road. I'm willing to argue that. I mean, if people will say, I'm full of it, well, let's argue. Let's debate it. Nobody in mainstream will debate that. No college professors will debate it. No reporters will debate it. Because there's no debate because there's no ET. There can be no disclosure. In other words, they're locked out of the entire discussion by the very paper bag they have over their head. But if there's anybody else out there who wants to debate, whether this is a fork in the road or not, I'd love to do it. It would be a very stimulating, I think, discussion. But that's what I believe, and I have a lot of colleagues that feel the same way, and that's why we've devoted our lives, with virtually no money, to advocate for this event.
Now, speaking of which, I mean, let's talk about that for a second, because you really have put a lot of your own money, and you've raised a lot of money to get a lot of the conferences put together, to get the petitions online, to fund the networks that you're with. You really are not taking a lot of money in. So when people say, well, he's doing it for the money, he's doing it for the fame, this is a guy who really isn't. I mean, Steve Bassett really is not in this to make money. He's really in it for the simple fact that he wants disclosure to happen. I mean, tell the audience a little bit about that, because really your plight, my friend, is really a tough one, because you really aren't making, it's not like you're making a killing doing this.
Well, I wouldn't call it a plight. And let me be clear that all of the colleagues that I have that I'm close to are not in it for the money. I don't know anybody, frankly, that I'm working with that's in it for the money. So it's not just me. And all of them are operating with very little funds. Mm-hmm. This particular movement is the most underfunded movement in the history of the human race. Nothing comes close. In terms of the relation between the importance of the issue and the amount of money that's been put in it, most underfunded issue of all time. More money is spent on trying to save whales in a single month in the Antarctic than it's been put into this advocacy issue in its entire lifespan from 1947 forward. More money is spent on saving whales now. And I have nothing against saving whales, but think about it for a second. The 65-year truth embargo in place on the nature of the reality itself is still ongoing. And the amount of money that's been invested to try to resolve that issue is less than it's spent in 1 month trying to save whales in the Antarctic. And now this is another, this detachment from reality. And it's one more example of that. And again, detached from reality is not a place you generally want to be.
No kidding. Stephen, what do you have coming up in the very, very near future now? The petition coming up. What else do you have? Do you have any things you want to promote? Any engagements you want to talk about?
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be speaking at the Conscious Life Expo at the Los Angeles LAX Hilton. February 10, 11, 12. I'll be speaking on the 12th. It's going to be a huge Conscious Life Expo this year. Huge. It's 2012. What can I say?
Yeah.
I'm going to be. Looks like I'm going to be speaking. Yeah. Looks like I'm going to be speaking at the New Living Expo in April, up in San Francisco. That's my understanding. I'm going to be speaking at the MUFON conference, MUFON Pennsylvania conference. But this will be later in the year. I think it's September. And all this is on my website, ParadigmResearchGroup.org. Of course, we're going to get this petition out. And then the major project that I've been working on in L.A. is PRG is already in partnership with a production company and is ready to go on a $1 million documentary. So the proposal's done, budget's done, all of the production facilities to create a theatrical level documentary are ready to go. It's $1 million. So we're trying to find a backer for $1 million. As soon as we have that, we're going to launch this documentary. It will be about exopolitics, which means it's about ETs. And our goal is nothing less than creating the first documentary to get a full theatrical release on this subject matter ever. But again, it didn't cost money to create the budget. It didn't cost money to get the proposal together. The production company is ready to go, so that's no problem. But the money to do it, well, that's a different matter. It's $1 million, about $990,000. So, but this movie could, Inconvenient Truth made $48 million. There are a lot of documentaries that have made a great deal of money. So there's an opportunity here for people to make some money and also help this movement in a profound way. So that's probably the biggest project we're involved in, and we're actually talking to people now. But obviously that's a real unknown, huge question mark. But so I have plenty to keep me busy, and but in the meantime, of course, we're going to work on this disclosure petition too. This is key, and as soon as I get it ready to launch, you'll know. You'll be told, Angel, right away.
Definitely, we'll definitely have you on immediately. Now, wouldn't it be funny if the whole petition comes out and it starts to actually get some answers, and we actually get sort of a disclosure while you're about to shoot this documentary? Will any of that make it into the documentary if it indeed starts happening that way?
I can 50-50. Disclosure might make the documentary moot or not. It's a tough call. Probably what we would do is we would make some adjustments in the concept, significant adjustment concept, and still go forward. And probably we would have no trouble gaining money. But who knows? Again, it's hard to think about that. But it would be... Look, I'll leave you with this. Assuming we're near the end, I assume we are. If disclosure happens this year, I personally think it will be the greatest coincidence in recorded history, meaning that the disclosure of the ET presence, not connected to, but just happened to happen in the year 2012, which, of course, has got this huge story attached to it now, triggered by the Mayan calendar and a lot of other stuff. A lot of people naturally want to hook these together. I'm not so sure about that. I think it's a coincidence, but an amazing coincidence. So 2012 works for me. I think it. If I was the government, I'd be thinking, yeah, let's definitely do it this year. I mean, everybody's in the right frame of mind. They're in a frame of mind for change, worldview change, higher consciousness, all this stuff. And so, in a sense, they're primed in a special way. Fine. It's good. Because disclosure is not in the hands of the extraterrestrials. It's in the hands of the United States government and the other governments of the world. They can do it anytime they want. Unless the ETs are threatening to nuke everybody, if they do. But
then, yeah.
I've been following this closely. And I do not see the evidence for that. People can throw that out all they want, but they have no evidence for that. There's a lot more evidence that the ETs are, in fact, pushing this whole thing in a way. Certainly what they're doing is it makes it easier for the disclosure movement to move ahead. So if they don't want it, they certainly aren't acting like it. So until I learn otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, there's no barrier there. So any number of governments can end this truth embargo tomorrow. And I'm going to put my money down that they're going to do it this year. And we'll see what happens.
It'll definitely be the perfect timing if they do it this year.
Yeah.
You can't beat it. I mean, 2012. I mean, this stuff doesn't write itself, and it is writing itself if it was to happen this year. I mean, I couldn't write a better novel if that was the case. But Stephen, thank you so much for being on here tonight. We definitely have to have you back on as soon as you have the petition ready to go and you're ready to launch it. I'd love to, promote it as much as possible here on the network. And just real quick, one more time, give everybody your website address so everybody can go on it real quick and bookmark it.
The main site is paradigmresearchgroup.org, and the petition, all the information about the petition is at disclosurepetition.info.
There you go, everybody. That's the great Stephen Bassett. Stephen, take care of yourself, sir, and we'll be in contact very shortly, and I'll have you back on here very shortly, my friend.
You too, my friend. Okay.
Take good care of yourself. Bye-bye. That, everybody, is the great Mr.